What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Unapologetically Her, the podcast that's for her by her. And for today's episode, I am joined by my girl, my road dog, my bestie, Miss Tinish. Welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks for having me once again.
So if you guys actually subscribe to my personal channel, you've seen Tinish multiple times. She's always on my Snap and my Insta. If you are a podcast listener, we actually have an episode we did back at the beginning of the year talking about coffee and the misinterpretation of female sexuality. But you guys actually didn't get the chance to see what Tinish looks like. So if you're listening to this podcast, head over to my YouTube channel and you can actually see our beautiful melanin faces. Oh my gosh. So Tinish, first of all, let me just start off with saying, how you doing, boo?
I am good. Taking it one day at a time.
You know it.
And how are you?
To be honest, I am missing quarantine.
You're missing quarantine?
I'm missing it. Back to work, and people have no concept of personal space.
No, I know. It's ridiculous. People think that COVID just went out the window. Like, come on, people, take precaution.
Like, did you forget we're still living in a pandemic?
They definitely forgot.
Like, this nice weather means nothing. You can't go nowhere. Stay home.
It's terrible.
I'm telling you. Now, you guys, for today's video, we're going to be discussing, a little bit of a trending topic. So if you guys have been living under a rock, you aren't tuned into social media, you don't follow up with the blogs, you don't be following up on Instagram or Twitter, then you guys probably don't know that Jada Pinkett Smith brought herself to the red table. And if you do know, then child, did you see Jada bring herself to the red table talk?
She did. She did. Can you believe that?
When I tell you. Now, mind you, what brought on today's topic was the fact that August Alsina did an interview with Angela Yee from The Breakfast Club, pretty much discussing why he's been gone the last couple years, talking about being sick, new music, some family, not I would say drama, but stuff that's happened within his family throughout this time, his illness. He actually does have an autoimmune disease, and pretty much just trying to get back up on his feet again. Now, there's been rumors, I would say rumors for the last couple years, that August and Jada actually had a relationship. So they were seen a lot together. He was seen around Will a lot. He was seen around the kids. A lot of people thought, maybe he's just cool with Jaden and Willow, right? Like, that's their big brother, that's the homie. On the other hand, some people have been doing some investigating, and you already know Black Twitter come with the receipts. Now that we can add 1 + 1 = 2, pretty much everyone's been going, well, August and Jada look a little too close. I wonder if they're a couple. Is she cheating on Will? Now, August actually clarified in his interview with Angela Yee that they were in a relationship. Will gave them permission. It's not like he came in there and just tore up their marriage at that particular point in time. With this now coming to light and being confirmed by one of the two parties, Jada decided to finally speak on it by bringing herself to the red table talk. Instead of covering the hot topic, she now became the hot topic. Now, to give you guys just a little bit more information behind the scenes, she decided that she was going to clear the air right away instead of continuously shying away from it. She put some emphasis on the fact that communication and transparency is key, hence why she's doing this interview and having Will interview her about the relationship. Also, she mentioned that this happened 4 to 4.5 years ago after creating a friendship with August and wanting to help him, which was a want that was influenced by their family, especially since Jada kind of has a history when it comes to these things in regards to her mom and people that she knows personally. And even Will mentioned at one point, he was done with her. So that 4 years ago when this entanglement happened was at a point in time where Will was actually done with Jada. He couldn't stand her ass. Like, they were separated. Completely. Now, Tinish, now that I kind of gave that brief summary, kind of get the people up to speed, what were your thoughts about the interview? Just the overall interview.
So the overall interview, to me personally, was vague, really vague. I mean, just like everybody else, I want the details. I want the juice, okay? I want the juice, I want the details. But I mean, I kind of understood why she was kind of being vague throughout the interview and not really explaining things in a very detailed way. Especially when it comes to social media, people have the tendency to kind of, misconstrue people's truths. You know what I'm saying? And she didn't want to give people that opportunity to do so. So I kind of understand why it was kind of, vague in that sense. But overall, it was a decent interview in my opinion. It was enough. So.
See, I agree with you with the vagueness, because I'm like, if it were anybody else that she was actually interviewing, or if the tables were flipped and it was Will kind of in the hot seat causing the drama, I feel like, first of all, we would have got our full half an hour episode.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, when I originally shared the video with Tinish, I'm like, my bad, girl, I shared you the trailer. And then I realized,
12 minutes, this is it?
Did I really just watch this only for 12 minutes? Jada, when you interviewed Cherie, Will's ex-wife, we got like almost a 2-part episode.
Jada.
Now, that's what I want. When we interviewed Jordan, we got a full-length episode.
Right.
How are we only getting 12 minutes?
But it's her show. She runs it.
But look here, if you're going to give us the tea, give us the whole kettle.
And Will wasn't doing enough. He wasn't doing enough on his part. Like, he wasn't drawing out the information that we needed.
I agree.
Nodding his head saying, Okay. And honestly, looking at him the whole time, sitting in that seat, you can just see the hurt in his eyes. It was kind of hard to watch on that part, but you can really see how Will Smith is actually truly hurt.
I'm not going to lie to you. What Will's facial reaction reminded me of is that episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, where his father did not come back for him and he had to cry to Uncle Phil. I'm like, oh, damn, I felt that.
Yeah, man, it wasn't so real. Ugh.
I feel like this interview, I feel like Jada should have brought August on the table, or at least offered to bring him onto the table so we can hear his side, her side, and Will's side kind of being that middleman.
Yeah. I feel like August Alsina, I think he was like the missing puzzle to that interview. Because, I mean, we're just hearing from her perspective, right?
Yep.
Really his. And I think it would make sense if all three of them would be in like one room so they can really discuss this and really clarify and, for us to understand like the whole context behind the situation. Instead of like one person saying this and the other person saying this in two completely different spaces. So I think that's I just wish August Alsina was there. So
no, I totally agree with you, because I feel like we're getting kind of almost like a biased stand. We're getting a biased standpoint when it comes to Jada and Will, because obviously they work things out and they're going to put up a united front. And then I feel like we're not going to get the same answers or the same responses. In August's interview, he told Angela Yee that he got permission from Will, whereas Jada said Will never gave them permission. No one can give permission but her. So that already is, a conflict. Their answers aren't matching up. Jada explains the fact that how he thinks, or how she thinks August assumed, let me get my terms right, how August assumed that Will gave permission is the fact that Will knew about the relationship and they were separated, mutual understanding at the time. We're separated, you do you, go find your happiness, whatever you have to do, and I'll do me over here. So she definitely clarified that August was not a homewrecker. He didn't just come in and they started cheating, although people call it an affair. Say that again?
I said, say it louder for the people in the black. In the black. I'm talking about Black Twitter, actually.
Black Twitter.
It's black and black. Black Twitter. Oh my God, that's funny.
Louder for the people in the back. But yeah, like it wasn't, I personally, although people say, oh, it wasn't an affair, I don't see it as an affair. If they had a mutual understanding that we are going our separate ways right now, we are free to see other people. Yes, the papers still say that we are married. However, we both know what we're doing. I don't know. Am I wrong? Do you think it was an affair?
I personally don't think it was an affair. I mean, unless they had a discussion prior to them separating, stating that they should not entertain another individual. But I'm just gonna assume that they never stated that.
Yeah.
From what I know, Will and Jada, they did say that they're separating, and for them to both find their happiness or find happiness within themselves, however that looks on both sides. So I personally wouldn't call it an affair, even though all these articles want to claim it to be that.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I feel like you have to kind of understand the what do you call it? The context behind their relationship.
We need to have a deeper understanding of the backstory type of thing.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally agree. So moving on to more in-depth points of the episode, what stood out to you the most? Any particular topics from or terms that she said that stood out to you that you kind of want to address?
Well, one being entanglement. What do you mean, Jada? What do you mean by entanglement?
Look, you're my Virgo queen. I'm here for the term.
I mean, I understand what she meant by that, but at the same time, as I said before, I want details. So entanglement was one thing that kind of stood out to me. And I guess the coping mechanisms of her trying to heal from her past trauma, relationships.
So how would you define entanglement? Because Jada defined her relationship as entanglement, and Will brought it out of her and said, "You mean relationship?" My girl goes, "No, entanglement." So relationship.
And then eventually she accepted it.
She accepted it. But how do you yourself define entanglement?
Entanglement? Okay, so I actually wrote this down. So I'm going to read that side of the screen, okay, guys? But so my definition for entanglement to me means, so pretty much finding yourself in a situation in which the goal is no longer the focus, and realizing that there's no aim to what you're trying to obtain or acquire, therefore becoming vulnerable to the things that wasn't intended to be, which of course results in mental and emotional confusion. So in other words, like misalignment. Yeah, that's my definition of entanglement, Jada. Yeah.
I like that definition.
Yeah.
Ooh, that was so deep and thought out. Ooh, send me that. I'm gonna post that on Instagram.
I'll send it to you. I got you, girl. I got you.
How does Tinish define entanglement? I like that.
Oh my God. Yeah. What about you? How do you define entanglement?
To me, that is a replacement term for situationships.
For situationships. Okay.
Like we're acting like a couple, we're doing things that couples do. However, we are not in a relationship. We don't officially have a title. There's a little bit of a shaded gray area. It's not black and white. So here we are in a situationship, except now 2020, here we are in an entanglement.
An entanglement. That's the word for 2020.
What?
Entanglement.
I'm telling you, that is my new favorite word. That's my new favorite word.
Entanglement?
Absolutely. I will go on record and say, anyone outside of my ex, you were an entanglement.
Oh my gosh.
Am I wrong? I always said I only have one ex.
Right.
And I'll acknowledge it, so everyone else, I'm sorry, you're an entanglement.
Best believe.
Oh, that sounds so shady. Oh my God. Okay. But it's true. This was a term that really stood out the most to people. Black Twitter went in on her and the fact that this is the term for the year. That's the highlight.
Oh, it is for sure.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. A lot of people can really resonate with that term.
Oh, absolutely. Because it's like you you know for a fact it's not really a relationship, but you guys are pretty much almost at that stage. You're acting like it, but it's not all the way there.
Right.
You're doing what lovers do, except it's not friends. It's not friends with benefits. It's not a relationship. It's that section just right in the middle.
There's no label.
Exactly. There's no label.
Yeah.
Now, here's my thing. A point that stood out to me after she spoke about entanglement was the fact that she said, you can't find happiness outside of yourself.
Oh, 100%.
Mm-hmm. And I think that hit deep, and that's something a lot of people need to focus on. And someone, once again, brought out receipts of Will talking about pretty much saying you can't find happiness with other people. You need to be happy. That person needs to be happy. And when you come together, you can combine your happiness, but you are not supposed to depend on other people for your happiness.
For your happiness, exactly.
And I feel like that's where a lot of people, once you depend on others for your happiness, you kind of start to lose yourself.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%. I don't think people should focus on or seek out happiness like towards like external factors, like whether it's somebody, like a person, an individual, or something like material possessions. I mean, of course, it brings temporary happiness, but if that's like the only way you're gonna achieve happiness, I think that can go downhill.
Oh, absolutely.
Those things can be very temporary, right? And what's gonna happen when those things just disappear? Happiness is gonna disappear as well. So I personally feel that happiness should come from within. And I think in order to achieve that, you're really going to have to look within yourself, analyze, self-reflect, to really, I guess, seek happiness or find happiness for yourself. So.
No, absolutely. And that's what a lot of people need to start doing. And this is why I feel like this has also been the year, or at least the last 2 years, where we're talking about being centered and self-love and eat, pray, love, finding more about yourself. You need to be able to provide your own kind of happiness. Like you said, it's a temporary fix. That's like trying to build something together with school glue.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah.
It's going to work for that moment. Afterwards, it's going to wear out and everything's going to crumble back down and you're going to be back to square one.
Exactly.
And what are you going to do? Wait for that next person to come in to bring you that temporary joy? Suppose that doesn't work out either.
That's what I'm saying. The thing is, a lot of people, as I said before, focus on like the external things to find their happiness, and a lot of people, they just need to do some reflection. That's all I got to say on that.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say on that. So
just take time to be, especially now, even with Corona, some people are still in quarantine. Take time to focus on yourself, learn about yourself. What are your likes and dislikes? What makes you happy and what doesn't make you happy? Biggest thing is, can you be happy being alone? And that don't mean, oh, you ain't got no family, you ain't got no man, no woman, whatever. But can you be happy when you are alone for an hour?
Do you enjoy your own solitude? How do you feel when you're in solitude?
Exactly.
Do you need to seek another person to be within, your space constantly? Because there are people who, they can't be alone. You know what I'm saying? They can't be alone. Like they're not happy being alone. They feel like they have to have another human being next to them in order to feel some type of, I guess, contentment within themselves.
But that's it. And you ready to got shout my girl Shantae Moore. She's always posting about the fact that she can enjoy going to a movie by herself. She enjoys going out to eat by herself. She doesn't need her kids. She doesn't need a man. And I think people need to find a way to get to that place. You need to be happy with you. Anybody else, that's an extension. I like to look at it as a tree. You yourself are the tree trunk. Your strength comes from within. The branches and the leaves, well, not really so much the branches, but the leaves are an extension.
Right.
So even when the leaves fall, when autumn comes around.
I like that analogy.
Right.
Back to that.
Really thought this one through. So let me get comfy. So when autumn comes, right? I'm giving you guys a visual. And the leaves fall. Does the tree die too? No, the tree stands tall.
Mm-hmm.
It lasts all of winter. And then spring and summer come back around and the leaves come back again.
Flourish.
Happy within itself, regrowth, rebirth.
Mm-hmm.
Only time the tree breaks down is when it's a storm or somebody chops it down.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it.
Chop it down. Those are the people who are trying to take away your happiness. Okay. Like,
This got deep. This got real deep.
like it.
But you guys see where we're going with this. Be happy within yourself first before you seek someone else and then depend on them to make you happy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, T, what we're gonna bounce back and forth. So back to you. What else stood out to you in the episode?
What else did stand out to me? I don't know if I dived into like the coping mechanism, as I said before.
Mm-hmm.
She dealt with like her traumas from past experiences. Because here's a few things that I realized about Jada, right? So I noticed that Jada, she's a very empathetic person.
Yes.
She has the ability to really put herself in other people's shoes and feel what they're feeling. In my personal opinion, I think that she has a natural healing energy about people. And when I say natural healing energy, I'm not talking about laying hands on people and curing them from all their sicknesses. No. I am talking about that she's able to deeply connect with people far beyond physicality, that resonates with their spirit, through emotional and mental, connection. And of course, sometimes that can be a burden and can lead to toxic situations.
Like the one she kind of put herself here.
Exactly. And because she has that type of energy, she has the tendency to wanting to heal people, right? Heal people, fix them. And as I said before, that can be very toxic because that's not always the case. You can't always heal or fix people, right? Especially if they're not at that stage, during their healing journey or process. So, and so that's how I feel about that.
So to kind of connect that back to the episode, when she talks about the coping mechanism in healing, Jada mentions that she's had this need to fix people or she's drawn to people who need help. And that stems from her childhood trauma and what she's been through. But also, it's gotten to that point where she'd rather fix others and not focus on fixing herself. Which kind of, again, goes back to seeking happiness within yourself.
Right.
Why do you think it is that we're always drawn to want to help others, but then when it comes to us, we're kind of dismissive?
Okay, see, that's the thing. We can't get tongue twisted here. We can't want to help somebody or try to heal them without healing ourselves. I mean, that's kind of, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, how are you going to help somebody if you can't help yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Like, to me, it doesn't really add up. So, yeah, it doesn't really add up to me. It doesn't make sense. So, I don't know.
No, absolutely. It's like, I think it's almost to the point where like it's like neglect. When you neglect a child, we're neglecting our souls and ourselves, our minds.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're gonna be like, okay, well, in order for me to forget about this, put this on the back burner, erase this, let me just focus on a project. Let me focus on the next thing. I feel like I personally relate into that, where I'm like, when I first started YouTube in 2017, I'm like, you know what? Here's a distraction from, say, like the hurt from the breakup. Let's not address it. Let's just move on like it never happened and find something to take up my mental space and time.
In a way, just suppressing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not being vocal about it, you're going to suppress it. But then the more you suppress things and the older you get, these things come back around one way or another.
They normally actually manifest in your relationship with people or in any, every aspect of your life, really. So
Yeah.
That's why it's not good to suppress those traumas.
Exactly. And that's the thing what happened with Jada. She suppressed it all these years. She's so focused on helping other people. Now it works out great for her with Red Table Talk because she's helping those and helping herself. But clearly this August relationship was prior to Red Table, where she suppressed, let me help this young boy, not young boy, young man.
Young man. Let's make that clear.
Make that clear. He was of age. He was legal. Young man. However, the help kind of became a little toxic on both ends. Dependent for happiness, being codependent with one another, and just too much mix up and blend. I don't know.
It is a lot of mix up. Mm-hmm. I mean, you realize too, I mean, in Jada's situation, because she's a hurt individual trying to help another hurt person, of course, there's a lot of energy that you invest in trying to help this person.
Yes.
And when you're investing so much energy to wanting to help this person, of course, feelings and emotions are going to develop. That's just human nature. That's human nature, really, in my opinion. I think that's just human nature. But it's acting upon those feelings that kind of got Jada in an entanglement. She acted upon those feelings at that moment when she was trying to help August. And instead of her taking a step back and not entertaining the situation, you know, she just went with the flow, I guess. Let's call it that. Just went with the flow. And of course, there's consequences to that as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fact that she's married still. She's technically married. She's just separated. She has another partner there. So like, she's not thinking long term. Like, if you're gonna entertain a person now to try to find your happiness or try to heal in that way, what's gonna happen when you and Will come back together? Of course, he's gonna probably ask questions like, okay, what were you doing? You know, questions are gonna arise. It's gonna come up eventually, right?
It's like, we let this man into our house, but you kind of took it to another level.
Exactly. So I just feel like she kind of, I'm not going to say messed up because it's not for me to say that, okay, what she did was wrong. Like, I'm not going to condemn her or condone what she did. Everybody's healing journey is different. Everybody's coping mechanism is different. And not every coping mechanism is going to be beneficial for you, right?
Yes. And I think I have to play devil's advocate in terms of August, where it's like, we won't condone and we won't condemn. At the same time, he kind of got himself into a predicament, an entanglement, a relationship, however you want to describe it. He got himself into the situation with this married woman, developed clearly genuine, deep feelings, and it did not go as planned. A lot of people are looking at it as, well, Jada hurt him and Jada used him and took advantage. But at the same time, despite what was going on, August is still a grown man, still somewhat capable of making these decisions.
Right.
So I feel like both parties are not guilty, but both of them are not innocent either.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of have to, I guess, share the blame and share the responsibility.
Yeah, of course. I mean, everybody has to, take accountability for their actions.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, I feel like because August Alsina was he's a very attractive guy, obviously, but he was really young. Like, he was like 20 something, and at that age, you're pretty impressionable to a lot of things.
That's true.
Yeah, so I'm sure I don't think he's been married in the past. So he's kind of inexperienced from what I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I could be wrong. Compared to like Jada, who was like about like 40 something, who has gone through numerous experiences when it came to relationships or even marriage, her and Will, right? So yeah, so I think Jada kind of took advantage of that and wasn't really considering, right? And then again, because she was going through that really hard, difficult time with Will, and she's trying to find her happiness and all that stuff, I don't think her mind was clear at that time.
No.
Until after.
Kind of like that revelation where it's like, I guess the grass isn't always greener. I guess I actually do love my husband.
Yeah.
I guess maybe Jada, it's a relationship. I guess this relationship actually wasn't the right thing to pursue. And you're right, I think August was like our age, so like 22.
Yeah.
He was actually younger than we are now, so he was 22 at the time.
Well, not anything, but
So it's like, okay, you have this.
22?
He was like, allegedly, he was 22 at the time. So then you're being courted by this grown woman who not only tries to heal you, but now has love for you. And it's like, where do we draw the line? Where do we kind of be like, okay, black or white, not gray?
Yeah.
Yeah. But my next point for you is, and this is something that I actually agree with Jada on. Let me open this up a bit. Is when she goes, you gotta go through some shit to get the answers. Now, she brought this kind of to Will's attention, and he agreed with this also, that, you know, they had to go through the rough patches. They got married young. They've been together for like donkey years at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the answers are not always right in front of you. Sometimes you have to go through the battles. You have to go through the ringers to get the answers you didn't even know that you wanted, that you needed. So how do you kind of feel about that line?
I mean, that's not always the case for everybody, but I do believe that some people, they would have to, you know, be put in a position to where they would have to, I guess, come to a self-realization.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what they need to be more aware of within themselves, you know. So I mean, I agree with her on that part in some cases, not every case, but
Like, mind you, you're not going to purposely put yourself in certain situations to learn the lessons.
obviously not.
No.
Yeah.
But whatever you do go through, people need to remember, use it as a learning tool.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take it as a loss. Don't take it as, oh crap, I failed.
Yeah.
Use the ups and the downs as a lesson to move forward. Once is a mistake. Multiple times after that, it's a choice.
Oh yeah, 100%. You can't get upset at the consequences after. No.
No. Like, you know, God spared you the first time. Okay, I'm gonna let you get away with it this time. I've heard that voice myself. I'm gonna let you get away with it this time. Anyhow, you mess up again and you make that same choice again, my girl, my boy, you on your own. Yes, Lord. I heard you loud and clear this time.
But, you know, he's just going to allow, you know, whatever it is to occur so you can learn from it. But he's always going to be there with you.
Remember, y'all, God works, but the devil works just as hard. Always remember that.
Facts.
Mm-hmm.
Facts.
Now, T, anything else that kind of stood out for you from the episode, or anything else you kind of want to touch on?
Actually, there was one thing I wanted to say about Jada and the whole situation, because I realized people just want to attack Jada and call. There are some really terrible statements and comments made from people about Jada, saying that she's a pedophile. Okay, people, you need to relax. You need to relax, honestly and truly. That's so upsetting. But I'm not going to entertain those comments because they have no sense. Anyway.
Mind you, actually, before you even finish that thought, you agree, because like we said, he was of age.
Exactly, he was of age.
This is when the hypocrisy comes in with Hollywood. Not even in Hollywood, just life in general, because you have so many men who have their wife who are within the same age group as them, but the minute they take up a younger woman, oh my gosh, yes, like that's my dude. Say that again?
Double standards.
There you go. The guys get the props for getting, you know, the young girl. There's this girl from, what's it called? Housewives of Beverly Hills. Her husband is at least 20 to 40 years older than her. But no one sees a problem when it's an older man and a younger woman.
No.
But, you know, Jada decided she wanted to be like Angela Bassett and get her groove back. And all of a sudden, it's a problem. We're not saying it's right what she did. However, if you're going to have the same energy when a woman has a younger man, you need to keep that same energy when a man has a younger woman. I'm just saying.
I agree.
But yeah, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, about the whole like situation regarding August and Jada. So there was a couple of things that I was kind of trying to reflect on in regards to the whole scandal that's been happening with them. So in my opinion, I feel like the whole thing was kind of unintentional. She kind of went into the relationship entanglement unintentionally. It happened unintentionally. It wasn't something where she had premeditated on. It's like, okay, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that, right? Yeah. So I think
she wasn't preying on him like that.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God, people need to listen. I'm not gonna get upset on this, but yeah. So I think her intent, like she said on the episode, was to feel good, right? It was for her to feel good. Whatever she was lacking in her marriage, she kind of tried to seek it out elsewhere.
Because she did mention it was and she mentioned this right to Will's face, it's been a long time since she felt good.
Yes. Ooh, that's
strong.
Can you imagine what Will felt like at that time?
That's embarrassing. No offense, that's embarrassing. She could have kept that line to herself, but carry on.
That's a marriage, man. Rough. Anyways. But yeah, so in my opinion, I don't think that whole situation was entirely to heal or to help August Alsina. Maybe initially it was, but of course it just got into this whole predicament. So like she said, as I said before, she wanted to feel good. So the feeling, I'm kind of reading off my notes over here, guys, so if you see me looking over here, don't mind that. Yeah, so the feeling of being someone's saving grace was bittersweet for her. Her contributing to his journey of healing felt good to her. So therefore, her ego felt good. But in actuality, without her knowing or realizing, he was her saving grace at that point in her life. And she clarified that through being in that relationship, she was trying to heal. She was learning a lot about herself in that relationship.
Yeah.
That eventually she came to the realization that healing or happiness is not going to come from anything that's outside from herself. So so that's how I perceive the whole thing. Her trying to heal through somebody else, even though in her mind she thinks she's trying to heal somebody else. I know it kind of sounds confusing, but it makes sense in my head.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
And it's like at the end of the day, when she realized what she wanted, and what she wanted was Will and her marriage, she at least communicated to that and didn't lead him on.
Yes. Yeah.
She gave him I don't think she gave him the choice. However, when he decided to cut ties and cut communications, she was understanding of it. Most people would try to use this as an opportunity to manipulate the person. Be like, okay, well, my husband doesn't need to know, or we can just be a side piece, do a side thing on the side. No.
Becomes like a really dark secret, which I think is a lot worse.
Exactly, which would cause a lot more pain on all parties, including Will.
Yeah.
I think this goes for any relationship in general. Sometimes maybe you do have to, I won't say step outside, not cheating. However, sometimes there is that kind of outside source that you either need to speak to or communicate with, or probably need to take a break. Ross and Rachel kind of thing. Take a break. Make sure you both have understanding. Take a break. Take that separation. Find yourself and come back around.
Yes. And of course, prior to doing all of that, I feel like on both parties, they should state their boundaries or state the boundaries, before going their separate ways.
Exactly. What's the rules? What are the not rules and regulation, like it's not like a law binding kind of thing, but what are our boundaries? what are we expecting to gain from this? What do we want from this? If it does come to an end, do we want it to move forward? There's so many things I feel like in the predicament that it was, you kind of need to cover your grounds. Because if it does come to an end, will we both have the same story? Will we both have the same experience? Will we both have the same understanding?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're absolutely right about that. I agree.
So now I want to go into like our little final remarks. So I will just read through my list real quick. One, I'm personally happy that Jada actually addressed it, because this happened, although this happened 4 years ago, and even Will was like, why are we even talking about this now? I'm happy that regardless that it was short, that she actually addressed it and be like, this is what it was. So that's one thing, still a little vague, but we don't need to know all the details. We're not laying up with Will, Jada, or August that night. So what she gives us is what she gives us. Take it or leave it. At least she answered your questions.
Exactly.
Another thing is we covered that Will did look a little hurt. I think Will has some healing he needs to do, especially having to relive this again.
Yeah.
I don't blame him. And then, like we said, both Jada and August, both innocent, both guilty. But again, we can only say so much because we're going one based off an interview. But also, this is a situation we've personally never been in before. You can concur? Wait, you laughing? You have not been in this situation before, right?
Oh, no. Sorry. My mind is going all over the place right now. But no, I've never, listen, Natalie, come on now.
Okay, we just gotta make sure you clarify for the people. You were a little silent over there.
I'm sorry, I was thinking about something, that's why. But no, I've never been in that situation before.
I'm so messy.
She is. Just kidding.
So make sure you guys, whatever we say, you kind of just take it with a grain of salt. We're just expressing our views from a 12-minute video. However, what I also take from this situation is don't kiss and tell. No, because people are gonna be like, you really want to talk about this? People are gonna have their opinion. I feel like when it comes to relationships, like, you have your good Judy, your good John, you can tell them look on 1, 2.
Yeah.
But these kind of things, I think, are not something that you really need to put into the public eye. And if you do, then both parties kind of need to condone it, have an understanding. Yes, it's your story and you're allowed to tell it, but you kind of have to be careful of who else is involved in your story and who else can be hurt by your story.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? You kind of have to just take a moment to think about those kind of things. Sometimes it's good to second guess yourself. My next point is, no, actually, those are my points. I feel like at the end of the day, it was a good interview. I'm glad that August confirmed the rumors so people can stop speculating. I'm happy that Jada took the time to share her side of the story. I agree with Will. Do not let this happen again.
Exactly. And no revenge, Will. No revenge. Come on now.
My man was being petty king.
I'm gonna get you back. Come on, Will. Stop.
But he was serious about it. That's the part where I'm like, oh.
He was joking. We know Will. He jokes a lot.
But did you see his reaction? I'm like, I don't know if this is a joke or not.
Oh my goodness.
Because Jada kind of like let the people know he did get her back. I wish they kind of went in depth with how.
No,
so
man.
I can sip my water a bit. But Will looked like he was still waiting for some kind of revenge. I'm like, okay, Will, it's not deep.
Because then it's just gonna be over, in my opinion. Because come on, what kind of relationship is that?
It's gonna be a long going tit for tat. Yeah.
No, I don't believe in that.
Well, how about you, T? What are your final remarks with the interview? And I guess just your feelings in general.
Well, I appreciated the interview. She said what she had to say. She clarified some certain things. Even though it's still vague, as I said before, it's necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And my overall, what I really want to say to the people out there who's creating a lot of crazy remarks regarding this whole situation without understanding like the context and just focusing on the surface level things. First of all, if you know people who experience trauma in their life and experience this trauma in their personal experience and all something about people like they heal differently. As I said before, they heal differently. Everybody's journey is different.
Mm-hmm.
Like my healing journey is not going to look the same as the next person's healing journey. So I just feel like we shouldn't judge other people and criticize.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
No, you're absolutely right, because we can sit here and be like, well, August shouldn't have done this and Jada shouldn't have done that. But like you said, me and you are not the same people. We're not going to handle situations the same. We might have similarities, but it will never be the same.
Right.
Maybe for him to heal, he has to speak about it. Get it off his chest and clear the air. For Jada, maybe her healing is to suppress and pass that energy on to others by helping them.
Right.
We might not get it, but as long as they get it and it heals them, then that's the most important thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Right? Look at us.
Agree.
Now, you guys, that pretty much concludes today's episode of Unapologetically Her. So I want to say thank you to my girl T for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Natalie. Thank you.
Now, you guys, I told you guys T would come back. It took a while, but I brought her back.
I'll be back again. Not tomorrow. Not next week. I'm kidding. I'll be back for sure.
Make sure you guys get that on record and screenshot that for me. Send me. So when I be like, T, you coming on for next episode? Just remember you said it today.
Oh my God. She has this on recording, so.
I feel like she put herself in a legal bind right now.
Really, Natalie? Really?
You know it's all love.
Always.
And by the way, for you guys asking, Tinish has no social media, so don't even ask how to follow her. When you see her, you will see her.
That's how it is.
That's how it is. Nope. And I want to thank you all so much for listening. If you would like to hear from Tinish again, or if you have any comments, questions, or podcast topics, hit me up on social media at Unapologetically Her on Instagram and at unapologetic_UH on Twitter. And also, don't forget, you can listen to the podcast on various platforms, and it's a long list, so pay attention. That includes Anchor, Apple Podcast, Breaker, Google Podcast, Overcast, Podbean, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, SoundCloud, Unapologetically Her, Spotify, and YouTube by searching Unapologetically Her podcast. Once again, thank you all for listening. Hopefully you'll tune in for a new episode. Much love, peace, and thank you, Tinish, once again, girl, for joining me today.
You're welcome.
Good little air hug. All right, you guys, tune in for a new episode. Hopefully next week. Could be the week after, but I'm aiming for next week. You already know. Time management skills not up to par now that quarantine's over, but we're getting there. We're getting there. Thank you guys so much. Catch y'all in the next one. Peace.